People who have had COVID-19 can get long COVID, even if they had no symptoms or only mild symptoms during the infection. You're more likely to get long COVID if you had to go to the hospital because of COVID-19, if you did not get the COVID vaccine, if you have a disability, or if you have a long-term health condition.
Hello everyone, how are you doing? I'm Sign1News anchor Jaydeep Gore. Here's a quick look at the top trending stories making headlines today. If you post an interesting comment about this update, we may add it at the bottom of the screen. The first Noreaster of the season slammed into the northeast region of the country last night, and it's already dropped nearly 3 feet of snow. That heavy snow, combined with strong winds, is creating dangerous conditions, causing structures like barns to collapse and even killing some cows. The snowfall also caused downed power lines and outages, and falling trees. A falling tree in Derry, New Hampshire, nearly crushed a 6-year-old girl and her mother. The city fire department and police officers used chainsaws and shovels, worked for more than 20 hours to free the child. Because of the downed power lines, hundreds of thousands of people were without power in the frigid temperatures overnight and this morning. You may want to be a little more cautious in the kitchen and make sure your groceries are clean. The 2023 Shopper's Guide to Pesticides in Produce is out, and strawberries and spinach have the top 2 spots on the so-called Dirty Dozen. The Dirty Dozen is a list of the most contaminated foods. Kale came in 3rd place, followed by 2 other greens, collard and mustard greens. The report also says nearly 90% of blueberries and green bean samples had concerning findings, including some kinds of pesticides, more kinds of pesticides than in previous years. Health officials say exposure to food with pesticides could potentially be harmful, especially for pregnant women and children. The findings of this report came from nearly 47,000 samples tested by the Department of Agriculture. The researchers say if you cannot buy organic, pesticide-free fruits and vegetables, it's important to properly wash the food items. If you want to see the entire list, head to ewg.org/food news. The 7 deputies pictured here have all been arrested and charged with second-degree murder. They work with the Henrico County Sheriff's Office in Virginia. They are accused of being responsible for the death of 28-year-old Irvo Otenio on March 6. 3 days earlier, on Friday the 3rd, police responded to a burglary call and placed Otenio under an emergency custody order. Officers say they took Otenio to a local hospital for further evaluation. But the deputies told investigators they later had to arrest him after he allegedly became physically combative. 3 days later, Henrico County Sheriff's deputies brought Otenio to another hospital to admit him as a patient. A few hours after he arrived, state police called for a death investigation. Investigators were told Otenio became combative and had to be restrained, and eventually died during the process. The deputies are all being held without bond and are expected to appear in front of a grand jury on March 21st. Otenio's cause of death has not been released. Lunchables will soon become part of school lunch programs. The National School Lunch Program, known as NSLP, was created in 1946. It provides lunch daily to nearly 30 million students. Kraft Heinz, the company that makes Lunchables, said 2 new varieties will be in school cafeterias starting this fall. Lunchables Turkey and Cheddar Cracker Stackers, and Lunchables Extra Cheesy Pizza. These Lunchables are different than those found in grocery stores. The company says they have improved nutrition that meets stricter federal guidelines for the National School Lunch Program. The USDA has proposed changes that would aim to reduce sugar and sodium levels in school-provided lunches. If you are a senior citizen on Medicare, you could start paying less for certain prescriptions. The Department of Health and Human Services says starting next month, the out-of-pocket cost is dropping for 27 drugs. Seniors could save between $2 and $390 per average dose for these medications. This initiative is part of the Inflation Reduction Act. It requires drug companies to pay a rebate to Medicare if they raise their prices faster than inflation. If you are a sports fan and happen to have a couple of $1 million in your bank account, you could own the shoes worn by former basketball superstar Michael Jordan during Game 2 of the 1998 NBA championship game. It was his final season with the Chicago Bulls and is commonly referred to as the Last Dance. Jordan already holds the record for the most expensive shoes ever sold at auction. A pair he wore early in his career sold for about $1.5 million in 2021. And someone paid $10 million for a jersey he wore during Game 1 of the same series. The Last Dance shoes are expected to go for about $4 million at auction next month. A thrilling baby crawling contest in North Carolina was filled with excitement, drama, and surprises. 5 babies were picked to crawl across the basketball court during halftime at a University of North Carolina game. All they had to do was crawl across the floor from one parent to the other. One baby named Lila instantly took the lead. But she crawled towards someone else's mom instead of her dad. And she stopped just inches from the finish line. That's when another baby made his move to pass Lila, but then plopped down on the floor and started crawling the other way. That's when baby Brexley made her move. She started out slow, but her dad threw his watch on the floor, hoping she would follow it, and it worked. Then her mother lured her across the finish line by waving her cell phone. Brexley won the race and a $529 check for her future education fund. Sign1News will be broadcasting updates Monday through Friday. A big thank you to our Sign1News app supporters. You help make this broadcast happen. You can download the Sign1News app by heading to the App Store or Google Play Store on your smartphone. And you can also watch on Apple TV, Amazon, and Roku.